Hey now, welcome to the Dirty Side of the Track, America's leading Formula One podcast. I'm Brian, that's Rob. We are so excited you're here. We actually have some fun topics this week, and I can't wait to get into them. What's going on, Rob?
Yeah, we kind of decided that one of the news stories of the week kind of got, well, maybe me a little bit more riled than you. I think you might be riled as well, but it was definitely a
Not as
poor
much
old
as
Jim. We were
you.
walking down to the bus stop. He had to experience a real life in person Rob's rant
Oh, God.
over one of the news topics. And it was me and you kind of passed it back and forth. You're like, huh, being as there isn't really much going on this week, let's make that our kind of little topic of conversation. So we're going to do news and social. Brian's going to open up the video vault. Then we are going to discuss the wonderful world of street tracks and their place in Formula One. And then after that, we have the first DRS of season 3. We had brand new music created for our new Who Wants to Be a Bozo quiz show. And it felt only apt and also maybe last minute swap out of someone that couldn't make it. But it felt only apt that Andy, my buddy from back home that has been so amazing with all the music for us, he'd given us this quiz show music and we were like, well, maybe you could run the quiz for the first time. So Andy of Sandwich Rant fame, the Valtteri song, the Pit Lane Pool song, just
So many
brilliant.
other tunes. Yeah, he's fantastic.
So that's going to be the running order. So let's jump in.
So the first story, obviously, yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
You explain it, because this gets you so riled up. And we'll put a pin in it, but I do want to put one note on outside of it.
Okay, so there were two big stories this week. First one is Madrid announcing their race. And I'm not going to get riled up yet because we're going to talk about it later, Brian. So what did you want to mention about this story?
We will talk about it later, but the part that always gets me going is that it was then explained, little more than a rumor, little less than confirmation, that Madrid will be paying F1 almost twice as much as Barcelona is, and over 10 years will be $500 million. Now,
Ching.
yeah, we've talked about this a lot, the fact that Abu Dhabi ends the season every year like a fart in the wind because no one likes the track. It never delivers what we want, and they pay to be last. So people are now just basically paying to get their events on the calendar, and F1's like, oh, money's good, and they don't look at the racing. We'll get into that more. I just want to talk about the money part. We'll leave the money part out later, but that's a lot of money.
Second big story of the week that I don't know. I want to ask your opinion here, Brian, as to whether this is a marketing person's dream or nightmare. Because let's just say that the internet's reaction, I haven't almost seen all of Formula One gather round together and go, what? As AlphaTauri finally rebranded and became the Visa Cash App RB
Right.
F1 team.
Yeah, that's good.
They've apparently amended their entrant list with the FIA now that the RB doesn't necessarily stand for Racing Balls. It's an enigma as to what the RB stands for.
It's Red Bull. They're going to put a little JR after Red Bull Jr. is what it's going to be. Yeah, man, what a bad name. But you know what? The good thing is, like you said, the internet came together. We race for money. The same reason that Madrid will be on and Barcelona will be off and the name is filled with sponsors. We got ready for this. We were taught this at the hand of Kick Steak Sauber Steak Kick Team Sauber.
At least they kind of rebranded and just spent. They're going to be known as Steak F1, and I'm okay with that.
Agreed. I am too. But I'm just saying we went through that whole process and we're ready for it now, and we will have to rename these teams. And I'm sorry, I'm not calling them VCarb, and I'm not calling them Visa or Cash App. I'm not even going to call them AlphaTauri. Sorry, you lost that by changing your name to this. So Toro Rosso is back, or Minardi if you really want to go back, but I like Toro Rosso.
Well, no, so I was listening to went for a run this morning, listened to 2 podcasts, and one of them was friend of the show Nate Saunders on Padhock. And they just basically had a 26-minute Rob's rant over what a rubbish name this is. So I won't steal everything. You should go and listen to it. They're very funny. But they were basically saying that, when people say, no, it's Minardi. No, hang on a minute. Red Bull did buy Minardi, so they bought it outright. Yes. You don't need to remember the Minardi team anymore. And they did a really cool thing by sticking to the Italian roots, but also wanting to reflect their new ownership, and went with Toro Rosso. Yes. Absolutely chef's kiss of a name if you're going to kind of look to try to do heritage of the location, but also the new ownership. Amazing. AlphaTauri, I was going to steal your Abu Dhabi. It's a fart in the wind. I mean, it was just, it was a nothing, but at least it was still the name of the team. And whenever we've got all these other headline sponsors that have come in, whether it's, Mercedes have got them, AMG, and you've got the Aram, whatever Aston Martin is,
Aramco and
Aramco, Cognizant,
Petronas,
blah, blah, blah. And
Petronas.
people,
Yeah.
but there's still an actual entity that is kind of like the owning part of the team. So people will call them Aston Martin or Mercedes, or, even Red Bull have got Oracle in front of them, and no one cares about all that because they've got an actual name. What are these guys now?
The RBs.
Yes, that's something you want to get jumping and drive across America in.
I'm going Toro Rosso. I'm going back. That's where I'm stopping. You're right. Not Minardi. They not Alpha Tauri. It's Toro Rosso, and I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to be the person who keeps calling it Twitter. I'm going to start calling them Toro Rosso, and then I'll tell people to get off my lawn, much like you.
And this is what they kind of concluded on there. They were like saying, if they'd have gone back to Toro Rosso, they would have got some love from the F1 community. And if they'd been the Visa Cash App Toro Rosso F1 team, everyone would have been happy. Although what they're saying is, apart from the people paying for the headline sponsorship, because they know if they come in with all their mega bucks and call it Visa Cash App Toro Rosso, their name is going to get dropped as quickly as we drop Aramco Cognizant, because no one's going to call it that, right? So, but what the heck are the commentary team going to call them, do you reckon? Are they going to lean into VCARB or...
I don't know. The real question will be, will Daniel Ricciardo change his name to Visa Ricciardo and just see if he can capitalize on some cash too?
I think they might have been on the same podcast, but they were talking about how what's going to be brilliant is, okay, the commentary team and the journalists have got to get used to what they're going to call them, right? But when they interview, like, Yuki, do you reckon he's going to know what team he drives?
No. Lewis can't even get Mercedes right, and that's a lot easier, so I don't see... We talked about liveries here, and Rob, I don't know if you have the dates again. I know we hit them a couple times, but the story I wanted to highlight that I saw was a post that said, watch for leaks this year. Now, we obviously had McLaren go early. McLaren popped out and said, hey, we want all the glory for a week, and we'll do our livery early. But then a lot, these teams' liveries will be on the Academy cars, on the Academy's aligned driver on their car. So the question became one of, A, now it's being shared more widely. Will it leak that way? And B, when do the Academy cars kind of come out? So there's a real question on the breadth with which these liveries are being shared, and will we see because of it? So I'm here for it. I'm excited. Like, I know it's not a car reveal. You and I have long gone past that. It's a relaunch, which is cool. I got no problems with that. I'm
but
still
what Mercedes
banking on
going to do on the 14th then?
Will show us.
Sorry, not mistake. McLaren. What are McLaren going to do on the 14th? Do you think? Because they're still in there, saying they're launching the car on the 14th.
Lando and Oscar, how well they talk about the colors. I don't know.
Maybe.
I can't wait though, because I put money. Well, not real money, but I bet that Haas would have one of my favorites, and McLaren did a good job because that was your bet for one of your favorites. So we'll see if Haas can pull something out of the fire. I'm hoping, like I said already. Their Chipotle tie-in, they turn like the battery on a Williams into a burrito. Please, God, please let it be true.
It's not happening, Brian. But did you see there was a tweet that I've kind of pinned and said, we've got to come back and check this out, because it was Mr. Pulse, Darren, on Twitter, when the final locked-in dates came out, said, isn't it funny that the cars are being launched in what will probably be the reverse order for the Constructors' Championship this year?
Are they
and
really?
If you look at the order that they're coming out in, it's Haas, Sauber, Williams, Alpine, Visa Cash App, Red Bull, We Race for Money, Aston Martin, Ferrari, Mercedes, McLaren, Red Bull. I mean...
That's funny. That's hilarious. That was hilarious. All right. We had some driver signing. You want to highlight this? Because you wrote this first note, and I want to highlight your spelling is right, but bothered me when you're correct.
Okay, so Charles re-signed, and all they said was it was a multi-year deal. And I was like, well, okay, is that just a couple of years through to the new regs? But then McLaren came out and said that Lando had signed on multi-year. So, okay, we got these two usages of multi-year. I'm like, okay, what does that really mean? And then Sainz wasn't being announced, but now there's a rumor mill suddenly going around that Ferrari are looking to extend him to 2029. Now, that's therefore very specific. So if you're not going to name how long Charles and Lando, and do you think they're on 5-year deals or more? I mean, what do you reckon those two are on? Where Sainz doesn't get the same nomenclature. They don't call it multi-year deal for Sainz. They say, oh yeah, we're going to probably sign him to 2029. But Charles is on a multi-year deal. So Who's got the longer deal?
So here's my take on it. And again, it's all happening now. Someone will have the answer for us in the next week too, I'm sure. First off, you wrote Charles resigns for some time. I read it as resigns. And I'm like, he quit? And then I had like a momentary heart attack. I thought he resigned, not re-signed. So there's got to be a way to make these two words look a little different.
They should have put a hyphen in there, but never mind.
Well, I don't know if you need it or not, but all I know is I had a heart attack. Number 2, I believe, because Charles is viewed as by far the number 1 at Ferrari. Forget what Carlos does on the track and how much we like Carlos, but they view him as the number 1. Lando's clearly viewed as the number 1 at McLaren, and Zach gives him the treatment that Christian gives Max. I tell you this because I believe the reason they don't put a date on these multi-year deals is because there's optionality that I don't think they're going to give close. And I think it could go both ways. I think it could be the team's option to extend at some incredibly high rate, or it could be the driver's option to bail or cut it short if they want to get out.
Look at 2026, see how the car reacts to the new regs.
So, I think there's probably potentially both directions of options being put into these contracts, and multi-year is easier to say than 26 asterisk unless the car sucks and then he leaves, and 27 we can re-sign if we want to pay $70 million a year kind of thing. I don't know. I could be wrong, I guess.
Okay, so you reacted. I'll let you fill in the blanks as to why you think this, but there was a big kind of rumor swirling around. The thing that might kick off silly season this year, with so many drivers' contracts up in the air, was that Red Bull were absolutely hot for Charles Orlando. Now, Horner's obviously sobbing into his coffee as he reads the newspapers there that both of them have signed. So if those two are locked in now, and while lots of drivers still have contracts up in the air, but it normally needs that kind of domino effect to kick in. I said, I wonder how this will impact silly season. You said not at all. So take us through why you think
I don't think those guys were leaving anyway. I don't think Lando was leaving. I didn't think Charles was going to leave. I don't think Carlos is going to leave. I think it's all the other teams where everybody's contract ends at the end of the year. I think we're going to see the world's biggest game of musical chairs and the entrance of a lot of rookies starting this summer. And I still stick by it. I don't think there's an in-season seat change unless Checo sticks his way out of the beginning first half. But I do think we'll see. I think we'll see at least 8 driver changes for 5 new spots. So I think it's going to be big. I didn't think it was going to be the headliners. The quote headliners. I'm doing air quotes, even though we don't do YouTube. Quote YouTube the headliners. I think everyone else is going to be moving around. I really do.
It might well be. It's just. Like I say, normally there's that domino effect that sort of kicks it all off. So, and a lot of the dominoes now seem to be slotting back into place again.
Just a couple of the big dominoes, which I didn't think were going anyway.
So, Checo might stick them place out. Max isn't going anywhere. Both McLarens are pretty much locked in. Both Mercedes are locked in. Both Ferraris are locked in. So we're now nearly 4, maybe 5 teams out of a 10.
And we said Lance probably wasn't going because his dad owns a team, but Fernando is a little more of a wild card. And then every other team, everyone's done. I mean, Haas are done. Toro Rosso are done. Alpine are done. Williams are done. I mean, everyone else is wide open.
True.
It's silly season for half the teams. So I still think we're going to see it because it's the last year before the regs change and people are trying to check out what they got. And we haven't seen rookies. We saw 3 rookies last year and 2 of them are back. One of them washed out. It's time. There's a glut of good talent out there. Speaking of,
I'm not really. Before we
you
go
want
on
to ruin my segue? Thanks, man.
I'm going to ruin your segue because I'm not really all in on that. I don't know that. I do want to see rookies come through, but I don't know that they have to all the time. And I don't know if the American audience expects it because it's a bit like the draft that you've always got new blood coming into a sport. Whereas here, it should be a meritocracy, and if the drivers are good enough, why should someone else come in now? There have been good rookies. We look at Oscar, but there's also been ones that have stunk the place out. So just because you have done well in F2, I don't know. I don't know that it necessarily has to be rookies every year. So
Sapstats impromptu. 35% of the grid is the same as it was a decade ago.
So
that there is talent out there. These aren't 10 years ago, we didn't get the best glut of drivers ever, and they've stuck around because no one's challenged them. But they've stuck around because no one wanted to try out rookies and take the risk and let them grow and become what they...
But the rookies that, other than, we did this when we looked at the rookies, right? You look at the rookies that have come through in the past 20 years and who have actually really gone on to be it's Lewis.
Well, but... Oh, who had a rookie year, you're saying?
No. Who's come in as a rookie and then absolutely stuck around and been amazing and dominated and Max did and worked his way up eventually. But he was... No, he wasn't.
Everybody's been a rookie at some point.
No, but I know,
No one
but
comes in
I
fully
don't see
born.
this need. I don't see this need for this factory production line. If they're still doing a good job, then they shouldn't just automatically get punted out the other end because every year you got to bring a rookie through.
All right, well,
Why?
let's agree to disagree on this one
See, I
because, in
think
my
this is
opinion,
the American draft system in play here.
no,
It's like
it's
you've
the
got to bring a youngster through every year.
well, maybe it's an American thing, but it ain't the draft system. It's the idea of upside. You know what you have in a driver like Joe. There's nothing wrong with Joe. He's a good driver. But if you look at a rookie who might take a year to get there, who may have more upside, you may see more. You've seen
I get that.
Joe's been
I
there a
get
bit.
that. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's
It's all about optimism and talent, baby. That's the American system.
yeah, but
All right, then.
they got to have the talent to oust them, right? Look at De
Well,
Vries
that's the
coming
hard
in.
part. No
Look at
rookie's going to come
Sargent coming
in.
in. Look
Oh,
at
come
Schumacher,
on.
unfortunately, coming in. I mean,
You don't like giving people a chance, do you?
This is the problem maybe with F1 is because it's such a small pinnacle of the sport, right? In order to give somebody a chance, you have to boot probably a
Yes.
good driver out.
And you will take a dip in that first year, and you have to
yeah,
hope
yeah,
they
yeah.
come.
So
I
then,
agree.
okay. Anyway, so you go on to your segue that we've ruined of rookies.
You've ruined it. So speaking of young people on the grid, which was a good segue then and still now, Ferrari announced a couple drivers into its as test and reserve drivers. Oliver Behrman, I screw this name up all the time.
Yeah, let's go with that.
And then they also tweeted Arthur Leclerc again, who had been in the Ferrari Driver Academy and then I thought was out. And the timing is fascinating of the Arthur Leclerc part, the tweet that went out like yesterday or 2 days ago, same time as Charles' long-term contract. So, I mean, do you think Charles is there?
You had a clause in there saying you got to bring him along as well.
I'm pretty sure he's like, all right, you're going to need 2 pens for me to sign this agreement, one for me and one for my brother Arthur. I don't know. Like, it was kind of coincidental because Arthur had left, I'm fairly certain, had been out of the Ferrari Driver Academy after having been in it. And now he's back with Oliver, and they're still there with Antonio and Robert Schwartzman. So I know some of them are moving on to WEC and other series, but that's a pretty good stable they've got there at Ferrari.
True. And then you lost your mind over Apple Vision. It did look amazing, but you found it and you lost your mind over it. So you explain what you saw.
Peter in the Pacific Northwest, if you're listening right now, thank you for sending that in. That was amazing. So the idea of virtual reality, and we're watching Apple come out with their Vision Pro, and the idea of what you can see with sort of projecting onto your screen of vision, your field of vision, on glasses, and we're seeing all of these things happen again and grow. Could you imagine what you can do with F1? And they showed it. And please check our tweet about this. But it's amazing. Could you see watching the race, and instead of having like a different TV for multi-viewer, which is great, instead of that, you can actually have the track right in front of you on the floor or on a table, and you can navigate it and see who's where and where the cars are as you watch the feed above. I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, this would be great. But the thing that actually Peter and I were trading notes about is, what does that do for interacting with people? So the States has a unique challenge, right? A lot of our races on Central Time, 8 a.m. in the morning, most common time, 9 Eastern for Rob, 6 a.m. for the West Coast. So more often than not, unless you're a raging alcoholic like Rob, you're not drinking beer at a bar with other people at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. Now, you're kind of watching alone. However, we're seeing, sometimes in the evenings, like, the Great American Vegas race at midnight, 1 a.m., because they really want us to watch it during the day and in prime time. But you watch these races, now there's more chance for kind of going to a bar or hanging out with friends and watching some of these things. You're not going to do that if this thing exists. You're just going to sit in your house with your glasses on, staring at the TV and the wall and basically do it. So I love this idea.
I'm just trying to visualize a world where I give up going to a bar to have a beer. And
right, that's my point. That's a downside to it.
No, it's not, because I'm never going to choose sitting and watching an illuminated thing over the floor.
That's the downside. People, I think, will want that interaction. And in America, as it grows, we'll get out of the watching in a cocoon early in the morning, and we'll figure this out. And I think that could hurt the adoption of something like that.
Yeah,
you're right there.
I'm doing some mental gymnastics to keep up with you here,
right.
but.
And the last kind of thing I have before we hit the video alt is just a note for everyone. Last year we did February F1 Fantasticness. Just like March Madness, a bracket, we talked about the best drivers. And there was a lot of great interaction on Twitter. We're going to do it again this year, but with a different topic. the topic that we'll talk about in a minute. More to come on February F1 Fantasticness. Check on Twitter, share with your friends, vote. As we say in Chicago, vote early and vote often. And then finally, Rob, I want to thank you. You put last year we updated our logo. It's behind you right now. I know people can't see it, but it's behind you on the flag that I had made for us. And you put them on the shirts. You updated them on the shirts, and I appreciate that. And I got a couple of my friends, I got some new shirts. Next time, make it higher up. It's like right in the middle of the shirt. Like,
you have access to Redbubble. You just do it yourself rather than try and broadcast it on the pod.
I understand that, but I didn't know where that, and they all got delivered. I'm like, they should have been higher up. Just me complaining. All right. No response to that?
Nope.
All right. Well, let's open up the vault door. So one piece of news we didn't hit, but is video or social related, and this is just purely video. Drive to Survive was announced February 23rd, Season 6. Are you excited or no? Because every time we talk about this, I can never remember, like, you loved it for a while and then thought it was overdone, right?
Yeah, I just thought last season was junk. If they could try to recapture some of the early seasons, like season 1 and season 2, when it was just a bit more documentary, fly on the wall type thing. They got to put a little bit of drama in, but now they've just gone like, don't let facts get in the way of spinning a drama that didn't happen. So yeah, I hope they kind of peel it back just a little bit, because there's a really good product there. I just felt like they just went a little bit overboard last season. So come on, this one could be good. Let's go back to their roots and give us a good season.
I'm keeping my finger crossed. I can't wait.
Yeah, me too, because I was just so disappointed. Literally, the highlight of last year's one, I think, was Bonotto and Steiner driving around the theatre in Italy. First episode, and that was it. They peaked on the first episode. Oh man. Right, what you found for us this week?
I have 3 of them. First off, preparing for the 2024 F1 season with Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll on the Aston Martin channel. Nearly 8 minutes long. It's mainly Fernando, which is great. It was really good kind of conversation. Did you learn a lot? Not really, but it's not far away now. It's a good reminder that the first race is next month, at the end of next month, but still next month. So I appreciated that. Thank you, Aston Martin. Coincidentally, F1 channel dropped Charles Leclerc's finest Ferrari moment so far, 5.5 minutes. Loved it. Like literally the day the contract was announced. So basically, Charles signs his contract, his brother signs a contract, and F1 puts a video out. I think they were all in cahoots, as we would say here in the States. And then the last video, 12 times restarts got chaotic. A new drop from the F1 channel, nearly 11 minutes. I love this. I love these kind of retrospective through the years, black flag moments or teammate battles or, crazy restarts. This was a good one, and there's not too much recency bias, which I appreciate. So some older videos made it in there about chaotic restarts. I loved it. Did you chance to see any of these? Or?
I haven't seen any of these actually. I've had a busy. Normally it's you that's sort of traveling with work and never get a chance to do anything. But I've had a busy this week, so get my little violin out and play a tune for me that I'm all sad. But I'm just going to drop one in here that isn't a video, but it's a podcast. So the second podcast I listened to on my run this morning was Engine Braking Podcast, and they've got Rob Smedley on, and it's just a great interview. I try not to do too many spoilers. It's basically broken into 2 pieces. One, kind of his time in F1 through the Stewart team, Jordan team, I think, being part of Ferrari as they went on their team their stint of domination, and then coming back to Williams. And he really talks about like rocking up in Williams and doing an assessment of like how far behind are they in terms of all the other teams, because he came across to Williams at a time where they were no longer the force they used to be, and their job was to try to pull the pieces back together again and start getting Williams back on the right path. So that part of the interview is great. Then he starts talking about what he's doing now, but the Global Karting League, where there is a sentence. I'm just going to I haven't written it down, but I'll steal it just to set it up. Said that there's such a high barrier to entry in things like Formula One and professional motorsport that as a kid, if you're going to go karting, you've got to spend ridiculous money each year, and it makes it such an elitism, and it makes it that the ones that make it through are almost paying to win, because you can just keep investing, buy better cars, buy better team, and there's no meritocracy as much that there should be. He said, imagine a world where you took, say, and I'm going to use soccer, sorry, Brian, where if you only allowed a certain number of people to play the game and had a barrier to entry that you had to pay a lot of money to pay, the game would have been robbed of people like Pele, Messi, Neymar, the original Ronaldo, not the Portuguese one, because a lot of these came from kind of, poorer areas, backstreet areas, and the game would have been robbed of most of its stars if you had that barrier to entry. So he set up this global karting league where he calls it Arrive and Drive. You just turn up in your overalls, and this company lays on all of the karts, and you get to do outdoor karting, 60-mile-an-hour electric karts. And you pay. They were saying like karting can get up into the hundreds of thousands a year to be part of. This thing costs at most $5,000 a year, so still not as cheap as like buying a ball at your sports center and going and kicking a ball around.
It's a car; it's never going to be free. This is a
well, you're not buying the car, but yeah.
Correct.
So
you have a fractional component to be able to use.
So anyway, I don't want to ruin too much of it. It's a really good,
really
good
cool.
listen, and go check that one out.
That's really neat.
But then please come back and listen to us. Don't stay listening to Engine Braking forever. Just share the love.
Yeah, especially now that Brake's not there anymore. We're getting to know Dan. We're working on it. And then the last thing as we close, just a weirdo thing, and we won't get into like numbers per se, but the Prost video on YouTube. So just to be clear, right, we used to put up videos, and then YouTube changed a bunch of stuff, and so now our YouTube component is effectively our audio with the image, the cover art there. And I thought to myself when this happened, oh boy, no one's going to check out our YouTubes anymore because, Rob and I are so handsome and people are checking us out to see our reactions and so forth. Well, the Alain Prost video had like 110 views in a couple days. Like, I don't understand how that happened. The whole thing is
our
long.
best performing video, basically.
Full-length video, correct. We've had a lot much better shorts, but the full-length video went nuts. And it's just a static image of Alain's bouffant and our voices. So thank you for listening. And to everybody listening on the Florida Sports Stream as well, thank you for listening. I was just confused with such high traction on the Prost video without my glorious mug in the background. But let's go to where we're going today.
I was going to say, that's the vault closed. I'm getting ready. I'm limbering up for my rant.
Yeah, I'm going to go take a nap for 5 minutes. You do your thing.
No, actually, I'm not going to rant that much. I'm just going to say.
BS.
I don't think street tracks deserve as much of a slice of the pie of an F1 calendar as they're about to get. Like right now, and we can debate how many we think we've got anywhere between 6 to 8 street tracks, and then we're going to get Madrid added as well. So out of a 24 race calendar, we're going to have like a third of it street races, and it just annoys the heck out of me. Monaco, I can live with because it's kind of historical, it's glamorous, and okay, it's fun to watch the cars go around those streets, narrow streets. But they're not purpose-built to unleash the beasts of these machines, right? There's people like Adrian Newey that spend all this time trying to make these things an absolute monster to fly around tracks that were, guess what, custom-built to allow these things to do what they do. Right. And that's what they've been doing, like, forever, but with maybe Monaco slotted in. And then over time, a couple have been added, and it's been okay because it's been like 1 or 2 as an anomaly out of it. But the thing that's really getting my goat right now, and the Madrid thing just absolutely stinks of it is what you always say, we race for money.
We race for money.
So this sport is now catering for the rich tourist that has more money than sense, that doesn't really want the...
more dollars than sense?
More. That doesn't really want the kind of... problem with having to travel out into the middle of nowhere. Oh, right. What? You want me to drive out 2 hours into the middle of a countryside to find a field that I'm going to have to park my car in and then go and watch cars race? And what else is around there? What do you mean, nothing? No, I want to be in a downtown city area where I can watch some cars go around if it takes my fancy. But if not, there's going to be all this other stuff that I can spend my money on. And Liberty are turning F1 into a tourist experience for the weekend. So even if the racing sucks because it's the street track not designed for it, if they've been looking at the Vegas sphere and they've been having fun in the casinos and seeing all the sights of Vegas, they're going to come away from that weekend with a good feeling of, that was a good weekend. I want to do that again next year. Now, if you ask the question, was the racing good? They might go, I don't really remember. I was having so much fun in Vegas. I didn't. And that's what's annoying me, Brian. It's becoming a tourist track experience package, and they don't care about racing anymore. There we go. That's my... I don't care.
I mean, I can't disagree with the thing you said. That's the problem I have, is I can't find the counter argument to what you said. I agree some street tracks are fun, right? Like just fun from a spectacle, not usually from the race. And I love watching Monaco. I love Baku. Baku actually does have some decent racing, less overtaking than we'd had in years prior. But I really love Baku, and I'd love to go to it if we weren't at a bad time this year when they moved it to the back half of the calendar. That
Well,
said,
and that's a point. Is
yeah,
that like Baku, and we'll get onto this in a minute. What we thought we'd do is we'll have a look at what's currently
yeah,
considered the street tracks, and we'll kind of decide if we like them or not. And then we'll take a look at some race tracks that we've lost throughout the years, and decide if we might would we swap those street tracks back out for those race tracks. But Madrid really epitomizes this, Brian,
yeah, I
because
know.
it's not even in downtown Madrid. It's in an industrial zone by a conference center where they're going to be racing past underpasses. And if you Google map that and drop a pin in that area and look around it, there is nothing of a spectacle. It's
I know.
just we take. Oh,
They don't even have a
gone again.
sphere.
I've gone again.
They don't even have a sphere. I mean, come on now. So in all seriousness, so I saw this and I agree, and we kind of talked about this already a little bit. But Barcelona is used for testing, and it's been around, and like nobody like loves it. They like it, but it's not like beloved with everybody. And so there's complaints because it's good racing and it's a good track. There's complaints about this, but then the internet went nuts because rumors came out, and some of these are supposed to be true, that Osaka, Japan wants a downtown Osaka street track. And everybody said, oh my God, what if they do the same thing and swap out Suzuka? And at that point, people like said, stop. Like, that's too much. You're taking too much. You cannot have Suzuka. We already lost Barcelona, which I think looks like a crab with the sides with the pinchers.
It does, yeah.
And
Pincers,
so,
yeah.
so there's some deep insight for you. But people didn't like the Barcelona loss. They don't like it. But it was almost like, well, it's Barcelona. And it's a good track. I'm not saying it's a bad track. It's not like they took Paul Ricard and we celebrated. We're sad. It's Barcelona. But then, so if someone comes for Suzuka, we may have like a mutiny. We may have to actually show up.
So
Yeah.
I poured fuel on there when I tweeted out this because people were going down this route, and it's like this is like ripping the Band-Aid off and kind of allowing people to get used to it each time. So the Barcelona for Madrid one, okay, yeah, people like me rant about it, but you're right. The people know the track too well because they test there, so the racing isn't always great. So people probably don't see that as too much of a loss. You then throw in Spa's coming to an end. But there's not really a big city around there that they might trade it in for. They might just drop Spa off the track to make space for something else in a different area of the world.
Don't.
But Suzuka, that one could be under threat, and that one did get people angry. I'm like, okay, but if you go down that thought process that Liberty-like city skylines that can bring tourists in, how much of a reach is it to say Silverstone is 2 hours away? Paul always moans about that he lives near Silverstone. Traffic is an absolute nightmare on race weekend, and the parking lot is basically a field, and when it rains, it's muddy and the cars get stuck. So logistics and kind of
I hadn't thought of this.
all the stuff around it isn't brilliant, but it's an absolutely fantastic racetrack with heritage and delivers great racing.
Yeah.
But if Liberty got a whiff that they could not renew that contract and have cars going past Big Ben and Parliament and the London Eye, it could happen. That is not a crazy thought that Liberty could put a London GP in for and
God,
not have
please
Silverstone,
don't
and
let
that makes me
happen.
sad.
Yeah, don't let that happen, especially because London vetoed a sphere. So if they're not going to have a sphere, then they can't have the race. But the thing I'll say is, and we don't have to use this as a framework. I just want to introduce the way I think of these tracks as we kind of hit the ones we're about to hit. In NASCAR, they have 3 categories, right? They have ovals, they have road courses, and they have one street course here in the city of Chicago. The city, it starts with C, ends with O, and has Hikag in the middle. And so it was the first ever street track. They have the road courses like Elkhart Lake up in Road America and all these other tracks around the country. And I think F1 has a little bit of an analog. Like we have, it's not ovals, but we have purpose-built year-round racetracks.
And Kota, Silverstone.
Correct. And they're fantastic. And you love them or hate them. Like, again, some of them I don't like Paul Ricard, but that's a racetrack, even if there are 47 options for each race. 2 is the idea of a street track, and I'm at the other end. I went to the other end of the spectrum of the continuum, and it's a street track, and it is Monaco, it is Vegas, it is those types of tracks where it's in a city, and you bend to the streets, right? You bend the course to fit in the streets. There's something in the middle, though, like this weirdo anomaly, like a road course, similar to the way NASCAR uses the road course, like Albert Park in Australia, which is not really city streets, and I think was sort of built for the F1, but during the rest of the year, it's a park. And Gilles Villeneuve, right, in Canada, we were just there. Same thing. It's not really a street track per se because it's not on city streets, but it's a park. And when F1's not there, the casino's out there and there's a lake and all kinds of beautiful things on that island that that's different. But I agree with you. I think purpose-built year-round track is where I'd like to see more growth, and it seems like it's being taken off the calendar in favor of city street, city vistas, skylines, and spheres. And I struggle with that.
If we're going to look at what we consider the street tracks, I'm going to give Albert Park and Gilles Villeneuve a pass because I'm going to say that while they're not purpose-built racetracks, they kind of are, especially in Canada because you can't even drive on there. It's not a road; it is a park, and there's no buildings and there's no city lines, they could make the track go almost where they wanted. Other than within constraints of the actual island, they could do what they want, which is why we've got sweeping corners, hairpins, straights. It looks like a real track. If you took that track outline and dropped it in the middle of nowhere, you'd believe it was a custom-built track. Right. You wouldn't say they fitted it around an island.
A bunch of 90-degree corners to go around your buildings. That doesn't exist.
So I think we've got at the moment... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you've got a potential 7. So let's just kind of go down them and say, do we like them and
yes.
Pull them apart? So you got Baku, Azerbaijan. On the plus side, this is a beautiful track. I do like the old city part and the castle-y kind of area, and there does seem a good mix where maybe because the old town has old style roads, it's not all kind of 90-degree turns and that kind of thing. They maybe get a little bit more interest in the street track. It does tend to be a procession and full of safety cars, but what are you thinking on Baku, Brian?
There have been some good races. I like the runoffs. I'm probably the only person who's ever said I like the runoff areas, but Baku has more runoff areas that people have to avail themselves of, and it's like shakes things up like no one's business. The corners are great at Baku. There are some 90-degree corners, especially early on. You kind of brick it around the thing to get to Old Town. Yeah, the straight's really long. I love it. I think it's great. Keep it. It's one of my favorites, even though it's not always a banger of a race. We had a good one a year or two ago. It wasn't last year, 2 or 3 years ago, but I like it.
It must be before we started the pod, because I went back on all of these and looked at our notes as to whether we like these races or not.
Right before the pod started, I loved it. But
yeah,
I'd say so, I love it.
I can't say I love it. It doesn't deliver great racing. It delivers okay racing, but if a street track has to exist on merit of the racing's okay, and then it has a spectacle or an aspect that goes with it that makes you think, it's then this one actually is going to be towards the top of my list for street tracks. I'm not going to put it above too many race design tracks, but yeah, something about the old town and the castle and all that kind of stuff. I like it, so it's okay.
And we've talked about this, and I don't know if everyone's listening, but especially somebody on Discord, but I'm going to keep it quiet. One day, if we make it big, I'm renting one of those Airbnbs of one of those places with the patio that comes out.
Keep it quiet. You've named him multiple times when you tell this story.
I'm trying not to get too ahead of myself. But so I promised one person on the Discord to join us.
Renato.
Yes, Renato. And so if you're listening, Renato, from Dunedin, Florida, we will, not there anymore, but you come with us one day. Not yet. We gotta stop losing money and turn this thing around. But I love that too. Those balconies right over the track.
We're gonna need a few buy me a coffees to get a balcony in Baku. We can just about afford a Facebook advert at the moment, but we're on our way. Next one up. Whether you hate the racing, I think it is the original street track, and it's Monaco.
Yes. Cars too big. Course too small.
Yeah, but I'd still be sad to see it go. If we were stripping, if we were told that in 24 race calendar you're only allowed to pick one racetrack, I wouldn't skip a beat, and I'd say Monaco. If I had 23 real racetracks and one street track, I'd throw Monaco in.
Okay, I didn't understand. Yeah, I'm with you. It's my favorite Saturday. You've heard me say this many times. It is the most high risk qualifying on the calendar, and the Saturday it's for people with really, really big onions, right, Billy Rafferty? And so you got to see what they got to do. It's the scary thing. And yes, it's a procession, but it's Monaco. It's Monaco.
It's a procession. It can get rain affected, which can really spice things up. But you're right. Because it has that Saturday aspect, the jeopardy of knowing that qualifying means so much to your Sunday, that's kind of edges it above all the others, plus all the glamour and glitz and the history. Then we go to the fastest street track in the world.
Oh, God.
Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Let's not talk about the human rights kind of stuff. Let's kind of just keep this as sport. But
okay.
because it's a night race. I've never been as enamored with night races, other than maybe Vegas because of all of the neon. But in Saudi, it's just a lit up bright track. It's like a white stripe of track where all the bright lights are on it, so you don't really see anything of where it is. And all we really do is spend all of the time waiting for the next safety car because they've had about a bazillion of them in the few years that they've run it. And it's, I don't know, I don't really like Jeddah.
I'm kind of all right with it. I hated it in the beginning because I was afraid it was going to be too dangerous. I think I jokingly called it, as I just did, Monzaco. It's Monza-type speed and Monaco-type walls. And so I did not enjoy that aspect for drivers, just for safety. Like, it's damn dangerous. That said, it's kind of growing on me. Like, from the races we've had, and whether it was early in 22, so new regs, and it was just chaos because it was like Charles was battling Max, the Alpines were fighting each other. In 21, it was at the end, it was almost not ready, if you remember that. And then Max and Lewis were backing off each other for the safety car line, or the DRS line, excuse me.
Oh, that was ridiculous.
I know, but it was exciting. It was exciting. And then in 23, it was early in the year, and Checo won, and we're like, whoa, we may have it. So, like, I don't know if we've had enough honest racing that's not contemporarily important because of what's happening around it on the calendar or the grid. I'm with you. It's not my favorite. It's not my least favorite, but it's on the Corniche. It's right on the water. Like, and it's a night race. Show us the beautiful sea as well. Like, give us a little more. But yeah, I could lose it and live. Put it that way.
Yeah, I agree. And we got one which I'm the jury's out on this one because from pure spectacle, it ticked all the boxes,
Sphere.
and Brian fell in love with the Sphere.
Sphere.
So, Vegas. Now, we probably need to take off our rose-tinted glasses of we loved it as a race, but I'm just worried that we loved it because the bar was set so low, expectations were so low that it was going to suck so badly that actually, because it didn't suck as hard as we thought, we all thought it was an amazing race. And actually, but Paul said they're looking forward to going back there next year. So, but this one for me, I could probably be argued either way as to whether I really would want to see it remain. If I'm going to go for a quota where we're not just going to have a single track, street track on the calendar. So let's say out of 24 races, we're going to allow ourselves. What should we allow ourselves? 2 or 3?
Oh, I was going to say
in our little ideal world, what are we going to have?
4.
You think 4? So 20 racetracks and 4 street tracks.
Okay,
so we're going to have to pick 4 of these.
6, if I'm being honest. I don't hate them as much as you do. I know.
No.
What do you put this up? So we don't have to do a total force ranking, but Vegas versus Jeddah.
I'm probably slot in behind Monaco, but as probably my second favorite street track on this list here, I think.
I really, it had ruined everything. It had done a great job at being terrible up until the race. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. And then the race was okay. And we're like, hey, this is a lot better than it could have been. So I agree. I'd like to see it again, kind of see how it goes. Yeah. I did fall in love with the Sphere. The glitz, the glamour, the hotels,
really?
The neon.
You never
chaos.
mention it.
Ooh, I could do some Sphere Photoshops. I literally was walking around at the gym talking to people about the Sphere. They're like, who are you? I'm like, hi. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Like, I know a lot of people were down on it too long or straight.
We're going to keep. I think the test is going to come in a minute where we look at some of the racetracks we've lost and really say, would you, if you had to, you're not allowed to get rid of any of the racetracks we've got on the calendar, but if you could bring any of these back to get rid of street tracks, would you or not? So anyway, we've got a couple more to go. So Marina Bay. I've looked at the reviews on this. Both of us, both times, have said, really, we kind of liked it because Red Bull don't do very well here at the moment. So even when me and you were both honest with ourselves, we looked back at last year's race and we were like, well, Sainz won and it was great. But it actually, like, I think in the notes when I was looking at it, you wrote like a race of two halves almost, where it was just snooze fest for vast majority of the race. And it kind of came to life in the last sort of 15 laps when it looked like Sainz was going to be able to bring it home. So, and I don't think there's much spectacle there. Nothing. It's a bit meh.
The only thing I would say is, and let me say this the correct way. I enjoy when outside factors play. I don't like when you go to Qatar and it's 1,000 degrees and people are passing out. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying I like a deluge where people have, take their life in their own hands, and like Lando at Spa and the crazy rain, and Seb's like, I told you we should have red flagged it, and Lando had a bad axe. I'm not saying that. But Singapore is hot and it's humid, and the drivers all know it's one of the biggest tests of the drivers of the year. It's a night track. it's kind of neat how it's under some of the expressways, and like it's almost like they almost touch like a figure of eight, but it's not. I like it. They got that long straight where Checo messed up with the safety car with like too much space. I like Singapore. I like
We've
the
just
race.
found who Liberty are targeting. We found the target audience for street tracks in my co-host here. But,
Even though I said I don't like them, I don't. I agree with you that there's too many. But yeah, I like Singapore. It's one of my favorite street tracks. That and Baku. Keep them after Monaco. Yeah, we're gonna agree on this one. I might even be down on. Can I take this one because this is a
Go for it.
resident born in America, lived in Florida for a long time. I hate Miami. I hate it. I've hated it for 2 years. And you've always told me, oh, it wasn't that bad. After the race, I go, that was a snooze fest. You go, could have been worse. It was okay. I actually have no problem with the fake water. I don't like the idea that they're in a stadium parking lot, as I would call it. I've gone 2 or 3 times on the Florida Turnpike just to look at the racetrack, and they keep it, as we saw at the national championship game or wherever the NCAA was there for football. They keep a lot of the circuit looking like the circuit, and then they park on other parts of it, and they'll resurface it. I feel like it's been boring twice, and it could be so much better. And this was one where they wanted to do it downtown, and the city said no and pushed them out to the car park. I wish they'd done it downtown. I wish they'd found a way to make it work, because Miami is a brilliant city, and this ain't
I wish
Miami.
they'd found a way of destroying the idea altogether and said, why don't you spend all that money on doing another COTA where you can now do a custom-built racetrack and actually have amazing racing?
So I'm down on Miami. This could come off the list. As an American, it's hard for me to say, but it could come off the list, and I'd be okay with it.
Okay. And then so I think that's it. And I just jumped onto the Wikipedia to just look at the Mexican one, because you kind of brought this up and it's a good shout. It's like, baseball stadium, park, what have you. But looking at it, it is named as a racetrack, the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez.
Racetrack name.
And the government, it was a public park, but they've actually purposely built on the land a racetrack. So and they didn't have to stay within the constraints of the park. They basically used the land to say, build a custom-built racetrack on this land. So for that reason, I'm saying this is a racetrack. It's not a.
But the stadium is still used for baseball, no?
I can't imagine it is.
It's not?
That's a year-round, as you would say, asphalt. I might say tarmac, but I'm not sure that looks like it slots in and out too easily.
I'll have to do some research. Either way, I don't love Mexico, and so I'd be fine if it came off the calendar. I was just trying to get that in there. I'm fine with the country.
You're going to be a big fan of Formula Street as they roll this out, aren't you?
No.
Okay, so
I'm trying to get rid of more of them under this on the auspices.
Well, let's look and see how many we would get rid of. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We got 7. So if we say we've got 6 or 7 street tracks at the moment, and we're going to say we've lost 6 or 7 tracks down the years, would you bump out a street track to bring it back? And the first one on our list is Sepang.
Yep.
Now, I was always a sucker for Sepang. I always think it's had good racing, good track. I was a bit gutted when it came off the circuit. I'm trying to remember when it came off. Actually, it's been fairly recently that it's held F1. But yeah, so because I know looking at here, 2017 Malaysian Grand Prix, Seb Vettel has got the fastest lap record there. So okay, so it's come off in recent history. So kind of sweeping circuit, lots of kind of high speed corners, and then a pair of big old straights. This one kind of looks like almost like a soccer puppet, right?
Yeah, it does. It's coming together. It kind of comes around and back out. Yep.
So what are your thoughts on Sepang? Or do you want to go through them all and then decide which ones you would punt? Let's go through them all.
Let's talk quickly about each one, and then we'll kind of highlight the
next one. Probably needs no explanation. It's the Nürburgring in
not the
Germany. The
right.
short version, not the big long thing. Then we had Turkey, Istanbul track. Another German track, Hockenheim. Everyone's favourite, Paul Ricard in France.
Why are we even mentioning Paul Ricard?
Because it's a real racetrack that got taken off the calendar.
It's a real race.
We
it's
might
a bunch
agree
of
it's not one we bring back, right?
With painted lines, and you never know if you're making a left or a right. Yet somehow Latifi gets lost.
I'm guessing that's
Japan.
not one you want to bring back. Manicourt, also in France. Portugal's Estoril, which I love that track. And then we throw in an extra one here because it's a good shout by you. I tried to pick ones that had like quite a few races held, and I didn't go back too far in time for like ones that fell off the track, the calendar in the 70s. We tried to go quite recent, but there's one that the F1 community will always shout about and say they want to see added to the calendar full time, which is the other Portuguese track, You can say it, Brian, because I'm not quite sure how
Portimao.
you say it.
The
Portimao. Okay, there we
Algarve,
go.
Portimao's. I
And
think
it
I'm
only
moving to
came
the
in. I
Algarve.
think it's only held races twice, and I think it was the
COVID.
COVID years when
Yeah.
it came in to substitute for it. But it's a real racetrack. It was able to take F1 category cars, and everyone loved it. So out of those that we've lost, there's some big names in there that I would not hesitate. Mine, I would want Sepang, Nürburgring, Hockenheim, Estoril. I think both French ones can probably stay off.
Yep, me too.
Portimao, and I'd want Turkey back as well.
I do too. I actually would do it. I only have 3 that jump out at me that I would really. And again, I'm not knocking the German ones either. I'm not taking either the Germans or the French. I'm putting Sepang on. I know. Look at me. I'm putting Sepang on. I'm putting Turkey on. I think the Istanbul track. It's not great, but I enjoy it. And Portimao is my favorite. That's the one. I didn't even know they had a track there till COVID. And then it had been built and not used, and I learned about it during COVID. I thought the racing was good. I love the area, the southern part of Portugal where that is, the Algarve. Oh my God, it's beautiful. I think I may move there. I don't know if my wife and kids are coming along, but that's okay. I'm just going to go and set up a little shop in the Algarve, and I'm just going to sell T-shirts by the side of Portimao. And it's going to say, bring back Portimao. I love it. So those are the 3 I would do 100%. I would do Sepang. Agree with Sepang is a great track. And what about, we didn't mention Africa, Kyle Army.
Because that was way too. I'm not sure
South
I was
Africa.
alive to watch a race.
I don't know it
that
either.
That one's
but
too far back in history for me to. I think I might have this wrong. Let me just.
I feel like I raced it
so
on
while I have it.
Forza Motorsport, and it was great.
Well,
That's
you
gotta learn somewhere.
Yeah, South African Grand Prix hosted from 1967 to 1993. So
I don't remember.
1990s when I'm really into F1, so I don't really remember it.
But again, I'm also thinking of sort of the global reach of F1. And
yes, that's a different discussion.
I'm adding this in.
Agree.
I'm adding this in.
No, because what I want to say here is, say we got 24 races on a calendar. Going to hold your feet to the flames and say you're allowed 3. There's going to be 21 real racetracks.
Oh God,
and
it's too many.
Because we're gonna keep
you're counting
Australia and Canada as kind of those. So it's 19 real racetracks. Those 2 in there make it 21. You got 3 street tracks. You're keeping, and then 3 of the racetracks you're going to bring back. So which 3 street tracks are you keeping?
You're killing me with your numbers here. I'm keeping Baku, I'm keeping Monaco, and I'm keeping my only 3. And I got Singapore and Vegas battling it out for me for the 3rd spot.
Well, okay, so I'm
I'll
keeping
keep
Monaco,
Vegas.
I'm keeping Baku,
Vegas.
and I'm keeping Vegas. Yeah, those are the 3 I'm going to keep.
I'm only keeping Vegas because I'm American, and because of the sphere, and because the racing hinted at something, and because it's
Vegas, baby, Vegas.
But like,
and this is where I think the kind of the DNA of a street track should be, right? Is that we know it won't be the best racing possible because they can't take public roads and turn them into the same things that custom built racetracks are for. So it has to have that something extra. Je ne sais pas. And I think Monaco has got the Saturday. I think Vegas has got the sphere and the glamour and the glitz and the strip. And Baku's got the old town and actually does deliver probably out of all of these, I think maybe some of the best racing. Yes, we get safety cars central. It can be processional, but we've at least got the chance of some speed and some overtakes. So those are the 3 I'm keeping. And I'm really not going to shed a tear about not having any of the others on there.
I mean, I'm good losing Miami. I would love to throw Mexico in here and just lose them under the conversation here. I do like Marina Bay in Singapore. That was the hard one for me. And I don't hate Jeddah. I think it can be more, and I'm curious to see it kind of stand on its own 2 feet in the next few years. But yeah, I'm with you. I think it's Baku and it's Vegas. And for me, a slight asterisk tier over Singapore.
So the 3 then, because you ejected those 3 from the calendar, which 3 racetracks you bringing back?
Yeah. Oh, it was, Portimao. And then I would put Sepang, and then I would do Turkey.
So, yeah, I think this is just Portimao might have been better than Estoril, but I just have younger memories of loving it as a kid. So I'm going for Estoril, Sepang, and Nürburgring.
All right. Works. That works.
Yeah.
And
cool.
Here is the cool part as we close this conversation on tracks. In February, as referenced briefly, we will once again be doing February F1 Fantasticness, just like the March Madness brackets that exist for NCAA basketball. And last year we did drivers, and as I said earlier, there was great conversation on some of these. We will be doing tracks. So look out on Twitter. February 1st, we'll be dropping the first set of votes for people on tracks. And Rob and I will come up with the 16 tracks that are in the conversation for the best. It'll be sort of recent memory, again, because we're not going to go back to the German Avis track, which was a 47-mile straight line up and down the whatever. But we will look for more recent type tracks that we think should be in the top 16. We'll randomize them and put them up against each other and vote throughout February to crown the Dirty Side's favorite track.
You're not putting too much
Best
effort
track.
into the graphic this year, right? Because there was something quite cool about your crayon written bracket last year. So I'm kind of hoping that you're bringing back the authenticity of a true SAT graphic.
Yes, this crap, and it's almost done. So don't worry. It does have a picture in the background instead of me just dropping a big trophy in the middle, but you'll see. It's good.
Oh, I can't
and
wait.
by
I
good,
can't
we
wait.
mean bad.
No, it's awesome. I'm looking forward to that because it was great when you ran the bracket last year. So that'll be cool. Yeah, so that's that. That's rants about street tracks over. So now we're going to go and check into how we got on talking to Andy. I won't describe the new format of our kind of DRS section because I think we introduced it when we talked to Andy and talked him through it anyway. So yeah, without any further ado, let's listen to new format DRS featuring new quiz with Music Man Andy.
Box.
Okay, we have our first guest of season 3. And not only is it our first guest, it's our first new running of the 100 Seconds of DRS. So we're going to start today with a running of the 100 Seconds of DRS to get to know our guest. Then we're going to do some chit-chatting, and then we're going to have the inaugural running of our brand new quiz show, which we haven't really settled on a name yet, Brian, but we're going to go with Who Wants to Be a Bozo, where the prize is to come on and host a show with the two of us bozos at some point in the future. So anyway, who's the guest? This person I've known for a very long time, and anyone who's a regular listener to the show has heard his music many, many times because it's brilliant. So welcome to the dirty side of the track, Andy.
Hello there. Thank you for having me on. Been threatened for quite a while.
It's an honor to have you on because we finally have someone with talent on here besides Rob. So it's nice, you know.
I got a compliment somehow, but...
Oh, man. No, I meant anyway. But so, Andy, thanks for joining us. This is exciting. And you get to be, as Rob said, not just for season 3. We're going to give this whole new shebang approach a try. We appreciate you doing this with us, man.
This is scary. It's scary. I know I've listened from the start, so I'm used to what the format used to be. And now you're going to throw it at me and change it.
The DRS is the same. You know, we're going to count Brian in now. You're going to have your 100 seconds. And then when we do our chit-chat with you around kind of, you know, your F1 origin story and probably talk about your amazing music library as well.
Yes.
If there's anything we want to dig into from the 100 seconds, then we can feed that in as well. So, without further ado, Brian's going to take you through the 100 seconds. I'm going to run the counter. Brian, are you ready to administer the questions?
I am ready.
Andy, you ready to rock it?
I'm ready to say pass. Incredible rate.
Okay, you can pass on this one. You won't be able to pass on the quiz later, but you can pass on DRS. I mean, it's a sign of weakness if you do, but if you want it, you go for it. So, okay, here we go. 100 seconds of DRS in 3, 2, 1, begin.
First poster you had on your bedroom wall.
Probably a Lamborghini Countach. How did you say it?
Yeah, Countach, or
It's
however you
behind
want
me,
to do
I
it.
think. It's up there somewhere. No.
Nice. What's your favorite cheese?
Brie.
What's your favorite F1 track?
Spa is the first one that comes to mind.
Well, these are good answers. Best
Without
racing
rain.
movie of all time.
The Senna one.
Yes. Cats or dogs?
Cats.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Favorite non-motorsport sport?
Soccer.
Thank you for calling it that, Andy.
Harris is going to hate you.
Best F1 driver of all time.
Mansell.
Are tires interesting or not?
Yeah, I'm afraid they are interesting to me.
DRS, good or bad?
Bad.
What is your favorite food?
Kebab.
What's the best thing to do on a rainy day?
Stay inside and look at it.
If you could swap the cars out for another type of
Wait a
transportation,
minute.
what would you like to see F1 drivers racing in instead?
A picture of those four-seater pedal bike things with the canopies over just came in my head. I don't know
Let's
why.
stop on that bombshell.
That's
The
awesome.
four-seater pedal
That 100
bikes.
seconds already.
That was 100 seconds, yeah. So, okay. We're going to come back to the four-seater pedal bikes. I quite like the view of that because I want to know
Yeah,
whether or
I'm
not we think there should be a
interested what I was on
there
about
should be a
there.
co-pilot in there as well or not. But anyway,
Beaming up.
so going back, you said your favorite driver was, or best driver of all time, was Mansell. So kind of my sort of getting into it era was late 80s, early 90s when Mansell was about. Is that kind of when you started getting into F1 as well?
I think that he's probably my first memory. I remember that was it Monaco when he was just stuck behind Senna, and for laps upon laps, just trying to get past him, and he couldn't, could he? So
Yeah.
that's my first memory of watching F1 properly, I think. So that's probably why I said that. And I watched that Red 5 documentary that Sky have been putting around. I don't know if you guys have seen that yet. That was amazing.
Oh no, I haven't. No.
I haven't seen it, no. Do I have to have the
You gotta
red
try and
button?
figure
Do I
that
need
out.
the Sky Sports red button on my remote
Oh,
situation?
all the different buttons and all the different subscriptions that keep going up every month. Yeah.
Oh, I don't think that one's made it over here at all. I haven't seen that advertised on any platform,
No,
actually.
I
I'll have to
haven't.
try to find a special way of accessing that one, maybe through a VPN.
Yeah.
I like the Countach, the Lambo on your poster on your bedroom wall. I look back at that era of car, and now, I mean, posters you had what you could get, but like if you had to pick a Ferrari Testarossa or Ferrari F40 or the Lambo Countach
Ooh.
or the McLaren F1, if you remember that one with the 3-seater layout, which of those four cars would you choose from that era? Now,
I'm
today.
changing my answer to F40 now.
Yeah, me too. The F40 is great. I agree with you.
Definitely.
I had the Lambo on my wall too, and it had the massive rear wing, which everyone who's ever driven a Lambo says makes worse. You're supposed to get it without the rear wing, but dude, that 40, right? I mean,
Where is it? It's up there. It is up here.
You've got the poster. I'm interested to see if it's the same poster I had. Is it the black? Is it the white Lamborghini on a black background? Oh no, we had the red
That counts,
one.
doesn't it?
That does count. Yeah,
That
that
does count.
counts. For
Although-
anyone
The
thing
who's
with
not on the
this, I
video
like-
here, he has the classic red Lamborghini
sure.
with the bull logo on the side as well. And I had the white one where it was kind of classic, like those old school posters of the day. It was like the black poster with the white Lamborghini with the doors open.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I had.
I mean,
Do you not think you have to see it from the correct angle, I think, don't you? Because if you sort of go around the side, it starts to just look like a Ford Escort or something. And then
I don't know about that. I don't think there are
'Cause
many
I get
angles.
into watching these guys on YouTube rebuilding them on stuff, and you sort of see inside them. It's like, oh, it's just a normal car under there, and he's just getting the parts from Ford.
Andy, you may be a musical genius, and the things you send over are amazing, but I don't think there's any way you can find an angle of a Lamborghini Countach where it looks like a Ford Escort.
I want to dig into that for a minute, actually, because we were kind of running down the contributions you've made to this pokey little pod over our kind of couple of years, right? And we were kind of saying before we went on air, you've also, it's led into some really bizarre situations where when you recorded the Pits, the thank you song to Pit Lane Paul, and you had your, I don't know if we call him a rock star or not. I'm just going to call him. You had a singer in your car in a car park outside. Was it Heathrow or was it was London Airport? Was it, or where were you when you were recording that song for
How
us?
far do you? That story began in Brighton, where I was doing a gig with him, and then we said our goodbyes, and he was going back to France. So I drove off, and then my phone rang again. It was him, and England had we'd just had a load of rain, and it had brought down leaves everywhere, and all the trains stopped. He couldn't get to Gatwick, so I had to race back, pick him up, drive him up to Gatwick. The road was completely flooded. We went through like basically a river, and there were lots of cars abandoned. And then we pulled up in a petrol station just outside Gatwick, and I said, "Hey, it's meant to be. So we played the track through some headphones off my phone, and he sang into his phone and read the words that you'd written, Rob, off my iPad in the car.
Amazing.
And then he gets out and he sort of runs across the motorway or something to get to Gatwick. He's gone. I'm like, whoa. And then I tried to get home through all those floods and put the song together.
Wow.
So it goes to a lot of effort.
Well, I mean, just the production value that comes across. I mean, my personal favorite is probably, although that is an amazing song, my personal favorite is still the one you did for the Valtteri episode, which we kind of dine out on a lot. That was was awesome. Did enjoy that.
It was not only was it amazing, I think you also put a "Hey Now" quietly in a lot of these things along the way. If it's not prominently featured for any reason, and you did that. But I gotta say this: I'd never heard the Valerie song. I should have. I don't know. I'd never heard it. I know, right? I got a lot of problems. Okay, and so I'm on a plane last week flying from Jacksonville to Chicago here in the States, and I put the headphones on, and they brought back. I could hear the in-cockpit communication with air traffic control, which is an old-fashioned thing, and I long grew up on it. And anyway, point of the story is I go through the music channels to get there, and I hear this song. I'm like, hang on a second, is this Andy's song for Valtteri? No, it was actually the Valerie song is playing, and I'm singing along to it, Rob's lyrics with your tune, and I think the people around me were annoyed because you're not supposed to sing on an airplane, but that was me. Sorry.
That's amazing that you're probably the only person in the world to have not heard that tune and thought it was mine. Amazing.
Totally. So tell me a little bit about your F1 fandom, right? So you mentioned a little bit of Mansell and movies and tracks, Spa, and like where are you today? Like what's your team today, or driver, or or do you not care and you just enjoy a good race? Like what's your favorite kind of situation in today's F1 world?
I think I try to take in the whole thing rather than be just obsessed with the driver or the tires. But I try to take the whole thing in. I like to just be zoned in, not disturbed, blinkers on, and watch the whole thing. I don't get much chance to watch all the proper build-up undisturbed, but I'd love to if I could. And all the stuff afterwards, Ted's notebook and things like that. I don't. You get that as well, don't you? You get the Sky feed, don't you?
So we get the Sky feed of the race, and then it turns off. Usually, sometimes we can go on and get like the F1 channels feed, or you can get Ted's notebook usually on YouTube somewhere illegally here in the States, and that's how I always catch when Paul is saying something to Ted, and usually catch it there because it's funny to watch.
Yeah.
We get it's got better now, but our feed used to almost cut off the moment the podium celebration had finished. It would list literally like a real harsh kind of cut to a woman in a studio telling us that, well, actually, it wasn't even a woman in the studio at one point. It was just a F1 was sponsored by Mother's Polish, and that was it. And then all of a sudden you dropped into a baseball feed or lawnmower racing in Kentucky. It just would just stop. But it's kind of got a bit better now. We maybe get an extra 5 minutes post podium, but they still cut us pretty quickly. But...
that's a shame.
Yeah,
I was kind of what made me laugh. You were getting our commentary and things like with Brundle. Brundle is Formula One.
Yeah,
and to see the celebrities that don't know that shun him is amazing.
We do have that part, so that is fantastic. Like I do sometimes recoil from how cringy it is. Like I'll watch it and he'll not know who they are and they won't know who he is always. And it's like, oh, I feel so awkward at this moment. I have to kind of hide in the corner of the room and just hope that Megan Thee Stallion isn't there.
Yeah, I haven't thought of it the other way around, where there's often the time like, surely Martin Brundle doesn't know who this pop star is, but somebody is in his ear, aren't they, telling him to go and talk to this person.
Yep.
But then the other way around, they don't know who he is. So yeah,
I mean, if you're a newer fan in America, the odds of knowing who the hell Martin Brundle is pretty low.
They need to be briefed, don't they? They're basically writing off their career.
At least you're gonna look dumb for a little while.
Yeah, I mean, for me, he's kind of he's as synonymous with the grid walk as kind of, I would say, almost Murray Walker was with the commentary, right? Although Murray Walker was much bigger, kind of transcended the sport. I kind of, I'm not sure I have Crofty in that bracket yet that he's got a distinctive
No.
voice and he does his little sound bites, but I'm just starting to sound like an old man now, where I just kind of say that no
He
one's
needs a
ever going to beat
better
Murray.
off the line catchphrase. I
Yeah,
can't go with, and what was it? I can't even remember what it is.
Lights out and away
and
we
here
go.
we go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
away we go.
no.
Rob, you sounded like an old man. You are an old man.
No, I'm not. Moving on.
So what were we talking about? Yeah, I love all the tech and things like that. I'm into all that, and I wish we could experience that properly and not have it sort of glanced over sometimes.
Yeah.
Get all the detail about, because we don't know what the difference between the cars apart from the color, do we?
Yeah, I tell you what, I've actually found, since we started doing the pod and you kind of start following more people on social media, you find that there's more technical insights through various different people, like on Twitter, whether it be Dr. Obs or other people like that kind of bring a lot of hey, when you saw this thing, here's what it means. Here's kind of vortices going over aerodynamic surfaces and all this kind of stuff. And I find that F1 doesn't lean into that enough. They because I think they're trying to go mainstream and get all the eyeballs on it. They don't want a snooze fest of kind of going into, and now here's F1 physics for the next hour. But
yeah,
they could give us a bit. They do seem to, like you say, they kind of gloss over it too much.
I thought this through, and like most of us haven't driven one of those cars. We've got no idea what downforce feels like. And I thought, it's a bit like if you haven't ever lifted up a shot put and we're watching somebody throw this, looks like a ball, not very far on TV. It's not much of a spectacle, is it? And I think, did you remember Richard Hammond on Top Gear many years ago when he had to go in the Benetton? And that really made me go, oh my God, these drivers are incredible. Because he couldn't get round a corner, could he?
No, he couldn't get it off the line.
So
we've referenced it before. I think he stalled it
he
stalled it like 15 times just trying to pull it away.
And he's going, I can't think fast enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Because this is a guy who's, for his living, is throwing sports cars around a track and making it look easy. And then, like you say, he takes a step into one of these things and not a chance. So yeah, I agree. They could bring us in a bit more to kind of explain a bit more about what it means to drive one of these machines. It's a good point.
Well,
but I guess you do miss a lot of Sky's build-ups before. They do some good pieces, and
we don't get
Channel
a ton
4
of
here
that.
as well.
We get basically the track, the grid walk, and that's about it.
But surely that's going to come over there more because they're obviously trying to build it up even more. They need to do.
Well, they've got Kentucky lawnmower racing to show on ESPN, and they can't let that get in the way. So, Andy, obviously, the DRS, the chat, the musical contributions of an artistic genius. You still have one more thing to do, and it is to be the inaugural contestant.
Contestant,
Who wants to be a bozo? But we're going to play a special song that Andy made for this, and we're going to play the long version. We're going to probably trim it a little bit. The second version is a little shorter, but it's really good. So enjoy the next 40 seconds of the best game show music you've ever heard. And imagine yourself
to play the whole thing.
Well, you made this. We're playing it. It's awesome. And we will trim it, but for the inaugural time, everyone gets to hear.
We need to get a voiceover person to come in. Like, we need to find a proper American. Hey now! Who wants to be a bozo?
Ladies and gentlemen.
Coming to you live from Dirty Side Studios.
Filmed in front of a live TV audience.
That's exactly what it sounds like. I need a butterfly collar.
Right, okay.
I love that.
And let's...
All right, we will stop at that.
Right. He's not very good on the fade, Andy. It's either on or off at the moment. We're trying to learn new skills.
So many buttons over here. I can only do so many
I've done this before. I've sent you a whole thing expecting you to pick 10 seconds and you play the whole thing. And I'm going,
well, we do what we can.
And I know that's why you spoon-fed us this time by giving us the long track and the short 10-second versions. And the 10-second version will be the intro in the end.
Did you see my face drain when you said about me hiding hey nows in the songs?
No. Because is
there a hey now hidden in that one?
I just realised I forgot to put one in that one.
That's okay. Oh, that's okay.
We'll let you off. You've done enough for us. Right, okay, so Format of this is in no way, shape, or form completely ripped off from Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. 15 questions of increasing difficulty. 3 banks of 5, basically. First 5, hang your head in shame if you don't get to the fifth, get the first 5 right. Next 5 will be a little bit more taxing, and then we think the final 5 are pretty taxing. You're going to have. I'm going to read each question and your 4 options. Once I've finished my 4 options, Brian's going to start a timer. You're going to have 10 seconds to give us your answer. Okay? So that's the easy part.
Okay.
You do have 3 lifelines. However, it's way too technologically challenging for us to try to get you to phone a friend. We just don't even know how we would make that work. So we have 3 F1 style lifelines for you, okay? You have box. Are you changing tires? No, you can change the question. So you can do this once. If we read a question out and you don't like it and you're like, oh my God, I got no idea, you can say box and we will swap for another question.
Yeah, right.
Well, you're going to write this down, aren't you? You're going to write these. I'm loving this. You can also deploy, rather than do 50-50, because it's too hard for us to work out to take away 2 questions. You can deploy 2-stop strategy, which is you can have 2 bites at the cherry. So if you hear a question, you're like, oh, I'm between 2. You can play your 2-stop strategy and you'll get to give 2 answers. And then the last one, which you can only use on one of the first 14 questions, you can't use it on the last one, is activate DRS, which will allow you to skip the question completely. So you've either got box, which is change the question out for another one. You've got 2-stop strategy, which is get 2 guesses, or you've got activate DRS. You can use all 3 of them in your run, but each one can only be used once. So,
okay.
Are you ready to go? Okay, so we're going to go with question number 1. Brian, you ready for the 10-second timer once I've finished reading out the 4 options?
I am, and I like Andy a lot, but I'm still finding the you got the answer wrong button over here, just in case with his confidence level.
Not for the first one, surely. Okay, here we go, Andy. Who does Max Verstappen drive for? Red Bull, Red Frog, Red Dog, or Red Wings?
Red Bull.
Yes, well done. I thought you were going to make us go the full 10 seconds then. Okay, question number 2. America's leading Formula One podcast is called The Dirty Side of the Car, The Dirty Side of the Paddock, The Dirty Side of the Track, or The Dirty Side of the Garage?
Oh, yeah.
He's displaying his T-shirt.
Cheating.
You are cheating. You brought homework notes in. That's not good. Okay. What is the first position on the grid called? Is it stick position, pole position, polar position, or race position?
It is pole position.
See, I told you you're going to get to the first 5. Everybody on Millionaire gets to the first 5. Okay, stopping to get new tyres is referred to as what? A quick stop, a whole stop, a tyre stop, or a pit stop?
That would be a pit stop, sir.
See, look at this. Easing your way in there. This is easy. Race winners traditionally spray what drink? Champagne, water, orange juice, or chocolate milk?
Champagne.
There we go. Look at that. He has navigated the first 5. There is no hanging his head in shame. Okay, and no lifelines used either. This is very good. Okay.
I forgot about this.
Question number 6. Well, to be fair, if anyone plays them in the first 5, I think we might kick them off the show. But
how much money am I on?
You're on loads of money. Yeah, there's loads of money. There's literally all or nothing here. You're either going to get to the 15th. Oh, and by the way, if multiple people get all 15 right across the course of the season, we might have to come up with some kind of playoff. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yeah.
Okay. Which city does Brian live closest to? Miami, Chicago, New York, or Pittsburgh?
And I gave you a hint on the flight just 2 minutes ago.
You did.
Are you running the timer?
What's that say in the background? That poster behind you doesn't say anything.
5 seconds.
Chicago.
Oh, look at that. He's just got it in before the timer. Good one.
Yeah.
Good one. Well done.
Got it.
Right, on to question 7. Who was the last world champion before Max Verstappen? Was it Lewis Hamilton, Nico Rosberg, Sebastian Vettel, or Kimi Räikkönen?
I was thinking I shouldn't rush in, but what I was going to rush in with was Lewis Hamilton. That's my answer.
Yes. Correct. Okay, question number 8. You are killing this. Which of the following tracks is the longest? Jeddah, Baku, Monaco, or Spa?
This is risky. Is it time to use some of my things?
10
You've
seconds.
got to tell us before the time is up.
Can I use my 2-stop thing then?
Oh, yeah, okay, right. So, bite of the cherry number 1 is...
I'm going to go Spa.
Correct. Didn't need to use the lifeline. Spa, longest track on the current F1 calendar. Actually, I didn't notice that. I think Jeddah's not too far behind it. Monaco is the obvious stupid one thrown in there because it's the shortest one on the calendar. Right. So on to question 9. Hamilton's 7 world titles ties in with which other driver? Jim Clark, Fangio, Schumacher, or Senna?
Schumacher. Straight in there.
Yeah, straight in there.
Very well done.
Question.
Very well done.
Very well done.
I'm getting cocky.
You are. Question number 10. The world
brakes
record
on
for the
now.
fastest pit stop happened in F1 last year, but which team set it? Mercedes, McLaren, Red Bull, or Haas?
Not Mercedes, not Haas. McLaren. I'm going for McLaren.
Oh, he's got it. He's nailed it. Right.
Nice.
Okay. So you've gone through the first 10. So that's the 2. Now we've got a little bit harder. Okay.
What
As
have I
we
got?
kind of
I've
already
used my
said,
2-stop.
you've used your 2-stop. You've got
I can
DRS,
skip
and
the
you've
question.
got your box. Okay. Monaco is the shortest track on the grid, but has the second highest number of corners. How many does it have? 15, 17, 19, or 21? How long we got, Brian?
5 seconds
I have a
left.
guess, but I'm gonna skip. I'm gonna skip it. But
Activating
I'll give it a
DRS. What
guess,
would you have gone for?
I was gonna say 17, but you didn't give me that as an option, did you?
I did.
did.
15, 17, 19, or 21.
you?
So you would have said 17, and you would have been
17.
wrong. So well done on playing the DRS. It was 19.
19.
Okay, on to question 12. Who won the first ever Formula One race held at Silverstone in 1950? Was it Farina, Fangio, Fagioli, or Parnell?
No idea. So I'll use. What have I got left?
You've only got one left. You've got box, which is swap the question for another one in its
Swap it.
place. Okay.
No.
Well, this one should play
lifelines
to your
left.
strengths. No
Yeah.
lifelines left at question. Where are we? Question 12. So, this one hopefully plays into based on your DRS. Maybe is your sweet spot. So, Nigel Mansell has one World Drivers' Championship to his name, but in what year did he win it? 1990, 1991, 1992, or 1993?
Again, I had the wrong one in my head.
You thought it was like 1989 or 1994.
5 seconds left.
5 seconds, Andy.
91. It was earlier.
Wait, I got the official song. I'm sorry.
Go on. Do you know the right answer, Brian?
92. It was an amazing
92.
series. It
Brian was on
also
when
the
we did
year
the
Was it
Del-
92?
that Alain Prost was his off year, when he was out romancing other drivers' girlfriends and wives and ex-wives.
So we have 11 questions answered correctly. We faltered at question 12, but I'm going to say that is a pretty good run for the first ever run on that. I'm, that you would definitely go into the top of the leaderboard on this, Andy.
Well done, sir.
Well, I set a nice marker. It's beatable, but you can, yeah.
but
It's a nice
very
challenge there,
respectable.
isn't it?
Very well done.
Very respectable.
Yeah.
Actually, I was
That was
quite
good.
pleased with
I
how that
enjoyed
panned
that.
out. I thought the lifelines worked all right there. So, yeah, and you played the DRS well because you would have bombed out on the on that 11th one, getting tripped up by the corners. So, the one that you swapped out for, I will give you the right answer on that. I could be lazy and keep it for another week, but I'm gonna tell you. So the first ever F1 winner at Silverstone, we did cover it in our delving down the decades. We gave it as the pub quiz answer. Fangio was in the race, and so was Fagioli. In fact, and so was Parnell. So the trick was that all 4 of them were in the race, but it was Farina. Farina was the first ever winner of an F1 race in the current guise of the championship.
Who also was the first ever F1 world champion, I believe.
Yeah. That wasn't the question, so I didn't research it. Oh, Andy, it was amazing to have you on. A, from a purely selfish perspective, to see my old school buddy on again, but B, just from like we kind
You
of said
haven't
earlier, like
changed.
just the stuff you've done for us. We haven't paid you a dime, and you just consistently kind of come through for us. Whenever I send you a frantic WhatsApp
Not
saying,
this.
we sent you a T-shirt, yeah. But when I send you a frantic WhatsApp saying, Andy, I need some music that kind of does this, and I give you like the world's worst brief in the world, and then you just churn out genius. So for that, thank you very much, sir.
It is a pleasure. It is equal honor to be in it.
Well, and it was great for me to meet you. Thank you so much, Andy, and for everything you've done to support us. Like Rob said, just super appreciated. And thank you for being the guinea pig on the first ever Who Wants to Be a Bozo. I'm not sure that name will stick. We'll see. But the idea will stick around. So, Andy,
what I
thanks
need
so
to
much for
do,
joining
Andy.
us.
Oh, sorry. Before we just say bye, I do need to try to put this out into the universe because sometimes you can speak things into existence. But I had my brother come over in last summer, and he kind of went outside on my deck, and he jammed with my neighbor Jim. So we had two musicians from the Dirty Side jamming together, the intro music and the DRS music. I need to find a way. You need to come on over to the US. I need to get my brother over as well, and then we need to get the three of you jamming together for some Dirty Side ensemble.
The Dirty Side Festival.
That's right. That's right. And then kind of like when Rob and Paul and I ended up at a bar in Montreal and just all yelled, "Hey now," into a phone as we passed it around in the middle of the night.
I think their output will be slightly more.
Well, I mean, they're talented, and you
talented
and I
than
are
us.
Yeah. So, Andy, thank you for joining us. We will open this up now to all the listeners. Even if you've run the DRS before, come join us just for the quiz, for the Who Wants to Be a Bozo, and see whomever at the end of the season has the highest score gets to host an episode with us. So it'll be a great time. Andy, man, thank you so much.
I was going to say, not only host.
Say that. That's the prize, is it?
Yeah, you get to pick an episode of your choice to come on and host. And not only that, me and Brian, this is hot off the press. We were discussing this before we recorded, but we're going to also hand over the reins to the Hey Now. Is going to be done by the winner as well. Brian's passing over the keys to the castle.
Hang on. No, it's failed.
No.
Oh, the sandwich rant.
No, Fred. No.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. Thank you so much, Andy.
Thank you for letting me get away with sampling you and turning that. I nearly didn't send it. I thought, hang on a minute, I don't know this guy. What am I doing?
It's awesome. All right. Have a wonderful day, man. Thank you for joining us.
Box.
Thank you so much, Andy. It's been a while trying to get him on and sow the seed that he needed to come on because he's done so much for us. He's been absolutely brilliant. And like I think I said on there, I would love to get kind of the three musical folk that we've had make contributions to the show to get together and just jam because it'd be awesome. But
and I think I made a comment where I accidentally said you have talent. I meant to say you don't talent. I screwed that up as I was trying to pick on you, and my brain froze, and I ended up calling you talented. So I don't know what the hell happened there. Yeah, that was great. Andy is great. And Andy, thank you again for doing that and for the music. And just for everyone's benefit, the reason we're kind of doing this, and I know we explained it, so I won't go into it, but if people have done the 100 seconds before, come back on and do the quiz. And so we don't always anticipate having both DRS and quiz. Sort of depends on the guest. If we do one, the other, or both. And for anyone who's done the DRS, come do the quiz, and you can be a bozo with us one time. So as we already said.
Also, we have a decent score on the leaderboard for people to go after now. So what was it, 11 and failed at the 12th. So
you're the one recording that, so you'll have to.
I did put it on the spreadsheet. I just have the spreadsheet open now from memory because we recorded that yesterday. Then I'm thinking he hit 11 and messed up on the 12th. Okay. So why not? That seems right. We'll find out when we listen back and I screwed it up.
Oh, and with that, we just want to say thanks to everybody. We will share our Buy Me a Coffee if you're so inclined and have the ability to do so. Yes.
Yeah, no, on that, good shout. So thank you ever so much for people that have kind of come onto the Buy Me a Coffee. We plugged maybe that's what led to the YouTube thing because we bought an advert last week and promoted the Prost episode, which was fantastic. Kind of ran that for a week on Facebook, but we've kind of got, we don't have money to pump into this thing, so there's no big prizes or anything that we can put behind the members entrance. We kind of put in some like desktop wallpapers and stuff like that, but also if anybody does kind of like those 3D livery models that we've been doing recently, and we may have some more coming for our Valtteri anniversary episode, we put something on the Buy Me a Coffee as well. So I think it's like, I put a limit of about like 20 because it takes me a while to make them. But if you do want a custom livery, and I think it's like a couple of bucks, and we will make you one up, put it on a background of your choice, and you can have. I did a Packers one for Brian. You've probably seen on social media. If you've seen it, we've done various different ones: ice hockey ones, Guns N' Roses ones, Knight Rider. So yeah, if you fancy a wallpaper based of an F1 car with a livery of your choice, then jump on Buy Me a Coffee, and we'll make that for you, and you can help support the pod.
Awesome. That's fantastic. And we will, as always, be Talk F1 with everybody, with all the Dirty Siders. We appreciate you all so very much. Have a wonderful week. We are getting closer to livery launches, car reveals, Drive to Survive, and not all that far away from testing. Have a great week, everybody. Be well, be safe, have fun.